5 creepy abandoned places in New York City. New York City is truly one of a kind. It is arguably the most captivating, diverse, and exciting city in the entire world. It is amazing how little we truly know about this dynamic city, besides just the busy streets and tall skyscrapers. There are a lot of abandoned places in New York City that seem to blend in the background, despite being there. In this video, you will learn about the top 5 creepy abandoned places in New York City and its creepy history that you probably didn't know about. But before we go any further, please make sure to smash the subscribe button if you haven't already, and click on the notification bell to receive updates on our new video uploads. If not, these creepy abandoned places might just visit you in your nightmares. Number 1. Fort Totten. Located in the Willis Point Peninsula on the north shore of Long Island, the fort is close to the Bay Terrace neighborhood in Queens. Built in 1862, Fort Totten is a former Civil War naval base built right at the head of Little Neck Bay. Its main purpose was to defend New York from potential Confederate attack by sea during the Civil War with placements of cannons facing the water. Today, the fort is mostly abandoned, with some active Army Reserve, NYPD, and FDNY presence occupying the former buildings at their base. Some of the interesting abandoned buildings at Fort Totten include the Fort Totten Army Hospital, which was built in 1906 and was used to treat wounded soldiers during World War II. The former Army Barracks, also the Willow Farmhouse, which is the oldest structure on Fort Totten, as well as the Fort Totten Battery, which once held the cannons facing the water. The Fort Totten Battery is now accessible to the public, as it's heavily fenced off, with multiple warning signs to not trespass, which further adds to the creepiness and mysteriousness that surrounds this fort. Number 2. The Smallpox Hospital on Roosevelt Island, also known as the Renwick Ruin. Construction from the hospital began in 1854 by architect James Renwick Jr., the same architect that designed the St. Patrick's Cathedral in New York City. Upon opening in 1856, it was initially used to house and quarantine the carriers of the smallpox disease. From 1856 until 1875, the hospital treated about 7,000 patients a year. Roosevelt Island at the time was accessible only by ferry and was perfect for keeping the infected patients away from the rest of the city's population. Eventually, Roosevelt Island was getting more densely populated, and the smallpox hospital was moved to North Brothers Island. In 1875, the hospital was converted to a nurse's dormitory. By the 1950s, the hospital was abandoned and the structure began to deteriorate and fall into disrepair. It wasn't until 1975 that the Landmarks Preservation Commission declared the ruins a city landmark. They reinforced the structure and the walls to prevent it from completely falling, but no other work was done to preserve it. Only some of the outer walls and the foundation remains today. It is currently inaccessible to the public, but you can see what's left of it from behind the fence on the southern tip of Roosevelt Island. It is right before the entrance to Franklin D. Roosevelt Fort Freedom State Park. The ruins that still stand today is a reminder of its creepy and mysterious past. Number 3. Ghost of Kreshaville, the Kreischer Mansion. Located on the Arthur Kill Road in the Charleston neighborhood of Staten Island, is the last remaining Kreischer Mansion. The mansion is a Victorian-style home said to be one of the most haunted places in New York City. Built around 1885 by German immigrant Balthasar Kreischer, is one of the 2 mansions originally built for Balthasar's sons. The mansion is 2.5 stories and made of wood. The house features a spacious verandas, decorative railings, tall chimneys, and a corner tower. Balthasar also built around a successful brickwork factory that led to an economic boom in the area, which became known as Kreishaville. In 1894, Balthasar's son, Edward, committed suicide in his brick factory close to the mansion. Since then, there have been reports of supernatural activities involving strange voices, a woman crying, slamming doors, and unexplainable lights. The mansion was never truly abandoned from that point on, but none of the residents that did stay lasted very long. In 1982, the Kreischer Mansion was added to the National Register of Historic Places. In 2005, a murder in the mansion made headlines, further adding to the already disturbing dark history of the Kreischer Mansion. My question to you is, would you dare stay at night in Kreischer Mansion? Number 4. Harlem Valley State Hospital, which was later renamed as the Harlem Valley Psychiatric Center. was a New York State psychiatric hospital that operated from 1924 to 1994. Located in the town of Dover, New York, the Harlem Valley Psychiatric Center was originally constructed to be a correctional facility, but complaints from locals caused the buildings to be repurposed into a state hospital. This 900-acre hospital has over 80 buildings and has been shrouded in mystery for decades. In 1924, the hospital opened its doors to treat the mentally ill and was in operation for over 70 years. At its peak, it housed 5,000 patients and 5,000 employees. Over the years, the hospital adopted numerous experimental methods of treatment for the mentally ill. In the 1930s, the hospital started using a new insulin shock therapy for patients with schizophrenia and other compulsive disorders. In 1941, the hospital pioneered the science of electric shock therapy, when neuropsychiatrist Walter Freeman developed a new method for treating a wide range of psychological conditions that became known as lobotomy. The Harlem Valley Psychiatric Center was a preeminent institution for frontal lobotomy in the state of New York. The hospital closed its doors and was abandoned in 1994, and the structure slowly began to deteriorate over the years. Only the night watchmen and vandals dared venture into the area. Ghost stories and whispers began to grow. The unkept grounds in its troubled past further fueled the disturbing reputation of this once mysterious hospital. Number 5. We decided to save the creepiest one for last. Arguably the one with the darkest past on this list is the North Brothers Island. North Brothers Island is located on the East River between the Bronx and Rikers Island. It was once the site of the Riverside Hospital, which was founded in the 1880s to isolate and treat the victims of smallpox, many of whom were transferred from the Smallpox Hospital from Roosevelt Island. Eventually, the hospital was expanded to house other infectious diseases such as typhoid, tuberculosis, yellow fever, and during the polio epidemic in 1916, Riverside treated numerous patients. In 1905, over 1,000 people were killed when the General Slocum steamship caught fire and sank near the island. Many of the bodies were washed up on the shores of North Brothers Island. It was recorded as the largest loss of life in New York City up until the September 11 attacks. Eventually, the island will go on to house World War II veterans and also serve as a rehabilitation center for drug addicts during the 1950s. It was finally abandoned in 1963 and serves as a bird sanctuary today and is off limits to the public. Who knows how many were held against their will within those walls during their lifetime and may still stalk the area in the afterlife. Which one of these 5 abandoned places do you find the most intriguing? Let us know in the comment section of more abandoned places you would like us to add to the list. Smash the subscribe button and click on the notification bell to receive updates on the new videos. Hope you have nice dreams.